Hey there, Simone here with Bulletproof Business Growth, as always, with some ideas and insights, what to pay attention to when you're growing and scaling your business. So today I want to talk about one of the most crucial moments in your business when you're considering hiring your second in command. Look, most of our clients are stuck in the weeds, they're fighting fires, they're fixing mistakes, they're 24/7 because they are the hub of their business, right? Everybody is dependent on them. Everybody needs everything from them. Their phones ring 24/7. There's never a moment to actually pay attention to strategic stuff. So for most of you, that's one of those moments where you are the hub, but what your business really needs out of you is you becoming you living in your highest and best use, your HBU, right? I talk frequently about hub, HBU. It's a one-letter difference, and it's a life's worth of difference, right? So when you are the hub of your business, it wastes a ton of your resources, your time, your money, your momentum, because you are the organic and natural bottleneck to everything. So most of everybody's dream is you want to hire that COO, that director of operation, that number two that can take care of the internal stuff and that team, which means you're now freed up. You have the time and the freedom to focus on your CEO work. So that's everybody's dream. And nobody really knows what that means, because the COO, that role is a bit of an enigma that means something else to everybody. Now, the ideal, and it's a very, very strong relationship, right? It's a CEO and COO have to work together like hand in glove. It's that yin and yang. It's the perfect coverage between these two individuals to make sure you have everything covered on the external side, which is more the CEO role, and the COO more on the internal side. So it's a fundamental connection, and it's what strengthens operations, and it facilitates the growth and the development of the CEO. But you have to understand, you have to know who the right person is for that role. So when you hire, you have to know what that role means in your business. Like I said, it means something else to everybody. And it also, you have to know who that right role is, who can fill that position for you and with you, so that you truly get the ROI out of it that you're hoping for, because this is not going to be a cheap position to hire for, right? So the role definition of the COO, like I said, it's kind of all over the place. It's different for every company. And to be effective in this role, and for the COO to be effective in this role, it means they have to really understand what the CEO's needs are. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where do they need help? So that the COO can up-level the CEO to their highest and best use again, right? That's going to be the term over and over. And Harvard Business Review at some point wrote an article where they were defining the COO. They were defining 7 different types, and it was based on the specific needs behind the hire. So this is something that you have to be crystal clear on before you can even work your way into that direction. So the CEO needs to focus on what the CEO requires, right? So there's no fixed formula. You need to really ask yourself, what do I need and what does the company need, so that you can make the right decision here. So it's not necessarily all about operations. Like I said earlier, the COO is the counterpart to the CEO, and what that means is you have to know what you're not good at, what you don't like doing, and then you have to find the person who is, right? And you might wonder, hey, you know what, like, if I hate doing this, how am I going to find somebody who loves doing that? And just understand there are people who will, and they're going to be much, much better at those things than you are, because they have the passion for it, they have the knowledge, and they're going to show up with a lot more energy than you are if it's stuff that you don't like to do or you feel like you're not the best at doing. So this is really important. You have to understand what that is. And look, for most of our clients, what I see over and over is they wait far too long. And that means they're stuck in doing things they're not good at. And again, that wastes time, money, resources. It stunts the growth of your company. It's wasted time, resources. It blocks your team because you're not hiring the right people. So there's so many places to really lose here. But it's everybody's dream to find the right COO, right? And that's the important decision here. It's got to be right, because if you can't do that if you're not ready for it. So let me say that again. It's everybody's dream to find the right COO, but you won't be able to find the right COO if you are not ready for it. So it's important not to rush it. You really need the right person in this role, or it can produce worse results than what you have right now. So too often, what I see is that the business owner gets really frustrated, gets burned out, gets tired, and very often it has to do with team performance, with operational gaps, and they're trying to take care of it all. So then what happens is, these business owners are tired and burned out, and they're looking for this person who can fill that need. So they're hiring out of need, because they need relief. And while the success of this person really relies on that they know what they need. So what then happens is they hire this person and they need relief, and they just walk away. It's kind of like dumping this poor new person to the deep end of the pool and hoping they can swim, hoping they'll do the right thing. And what happens is the whole thing implodes, and it's going to be worse than it was before. So that's why I'm saying you really need to be ready for this hire. And sometimes it means you have to slow down to be able to speed up later, right? So you have to set the fundamentals in place, and this is a lot of the stuff that we're always talking about, so that you can actually make the right moves here. Now, you have to start by understanding really what your needs are, develop a really good job description for that. And the way you do that is you start by doing a time audit over an entire month. And for those of you who've done this with us, most of the time we recommend to really understand responsibilities and how you spend your time. You do it for a few days. But for this specific instance, you want to actually audit your time for an entire month. And I know this is tedious. This is nothing anybody wants to do, but it ensures the success for this hire, and it ensures that you get the ROI that you really need, and that you get the efficacy that you need. So don't skip this piece. Really, really, really important. So everything must be in what do you actually do, right? So this is what you're clocking through the entire day. What do you actually do? And then so you write this down every 20 minutes, every half an hour. You make a really quick note. And then at the end of the day, you make a quick note for every task, for everything that you were doing. And you note down, was this strategic? So you put an S on it, or was this transactional? So you put a T on it. So by the end of the day, you have a clear understanding of what did I do all day. So you put an S and a T, and then you also note down, is this particular task something I suck at, I'm okay at, I'm good at, or I'm great? Because this is how you're going to organize this, right? So what you want to keep is all the S's, all the strategic parts that you're great at or that you're good at. So when you're thinking about the strategic part that you're okay or sucky at, well, that's what you want your COO to do, because those things where you're doing things that are strategic, that you're only okay or sucky at, that is going to present a fatal flaw for your company, okay? And I really want you to hear me on that. So right now, and then of course you have all your T's for transactional, right? So right now you have to understand of those T's, of those transactional things, what are the 10 to 20% only you can do? And you have to be really honest about this for this to actually work, right? So if you have anything that's transactional and that says you're only okay or you suck at it, well, this is something for your COO to take over, and either they take it on or they delegate it out. And the big question here is really, what is it worth for you not to do this? Because think about the ROI. You're not spending your time at something with something that you suck at or you're just barely good at, that you probably don't like doing. So think about what that is costing you, because the other cost you're going to consider is what it's costing you to get that fulfilled, right? So you have to make that distinction. What is it costing you that you do this stuff that you're not good at, that you're not great at, and that you don't love doing? So now that when you do this for a month, right, you make all these distinctions and you have a really clear plan at this point what this role is that you're filling. Now you have a well-defined role. You're clear on what the cost is that you haven't hired for this role, right? So now we want to look at how do we actually get ready to make sure that this hire is going to be able to hit the ground running and actually make a big difference. So we want to talk about how do you increase your readiness for this hire. And the first piece of this is that you have to define really clear KPIs that this individual is responsible for. So really clear KPIs, really clear goals and expectations, and a holistic plan. The way that we teach it is a holistic plan that they really understand, hey, what's the vision that you have for this role? How do they have to show up? What kind of person do they have to be? What's the culture like? How are they focused on that? And then you have that clear plan for them with the KPIs and goals and expectations, so they understand what the overall actions are that they're responsible for. And then we also talk about what are some obstacles and opportunities, so they just really understand more about your company than just like what are the action items, right? So when we give them this clarity, when we put out this level of clarity, that attracts the right people and it deters the people who can't really fill the role. So you have to have this clarity first so that you can put it out to the world, and then and then you get the right people into the room. So look, I mean, it takes time, and this is the other part that you have to be clear about. It takes time to interview enough people to really know who's right. One of my mentors told me once that when you're hiring for an executive role, so for a strategy defining role, that most people expect they're going to be interviewing 2 or 3 people and they're going to find the right people and the right person. And he said to me, he's like, look, you are probably going to look at hundreds of resumes and you're going to interview 10 to 20 people at least to get a clear understanding of who is the right fit. So you want to make sure that you give yourself enough time so you don't hire out of desperation and need, right? And another piece of this readiness quotient is you have to have your vision in place, your 3-year strategic plan. It is so important here that you get the right fit in, because you have to be able to illustrate for them what the right alignment is, what your aspirations are. This is really what makes you ready to hire at that level, is when you can point out a long-term plan here. So because you have to be able to talk to them about how will their role develop over time, what's the main focus for this role in the long time. If you can't develop a vision for this, if you can't develop a 3-year strategic plan for your business, you're probably not ready to hire for this role. So this is, you might be able to hire kind of a predecessor for this role who's responsible for simpler stuff. But when you really want this type of contribution from an individual, you have to be able to show them exactly what that looks like. So once you get the right people, in the room, you want to vet them for leadership potential, because they will be the guardians of your culture and of your team performance, right? This is one of their most important functions, most likely for you, is that they will lead your team. So they have to walk your walk, they have to talk your talk, they have to be in full alignment with what your goals are, with what your vision and your mission is, standards, values, all that stuff. That you have to be cut from the same cloth in that aspect. So talk the talk, walk the walk. You have to be both in alignment for that. And also think about this. They have to be able to lead the budget. They have to be able to be responsible for increased P&L performance. Do they have this piece, right? So, and the other part, you also want to think about, is this person strong enough to challenge you? And will you want to be challenged by them? Because this is how they should manage up to you. They should be able to challenge you so that you learn, that you can actually grow and scale, because they have a seat at your table and they can speak to you from that perspective. Now, here's the thing. Even once you've hired this person, you can't just disengage. So this is what I see all the time, and this is where the biggest mistakes happen. You might have hired somebody that you think is great, but of course you're never really going to know that until you start working with them. So you hire somebody and you're like, oh, great relief. Boom, they got this. I'm going to step out. And I've seen this over and over and over with our clients. What happens is this person might do their best, but if you weren't quite hiring ready, if you didn't quite define it enough, they're coming in with a certain amount of unclarity and ambiguity, and then you're not around to coach and mentor them to help them dial this thing in. So they might be trying to do their best, but they're not actually operating in alignment with what you need and what your team needs. And then we're having a greater and greater disconnect and gap. And that means we're getting worse results than we were before. You might be like, just one of our clients just hired somebody, and I said to him, make sure that they operate in alignment with your leadership style, even when they do it differently, right? And make sure that they operate in alignment with how this team has been treated and called forth before they start making changes, right? They have to establish their credibility and their ownership before they start making changes. And he took that a little too lightly. And then we started having big problems with the existing team because they were not feeling like they really wanted to work with this person. So it's a process to really consider carefully before you make that change. But it's one of the most important and crucial and powerful changes you can make in your business. So once you hire this person, you can't disengage. You have to engage even more. It's a little bit like a marriage, right? You have to have really good communication. You have to make agreements. You have to establish that clarity so everybody is focused and everybody is operating from the same principles. So once they come in, you have to have a great onboarding plan. It sort of means you're joined at the hip for a little while, because even if they come in with a certain amount of expertise, they still don't know what that means in your company, right? They might have all sorts of accolades. If they don't understand your company, and they can't if they've never worked there, how are they going to drive a really good result? So you have to be able to train them. They have to have a really good 30, 60, 90 day plan that has the right metrics attached to it, so that they can really truly understand what done looks like, what success looks like. You have to be able to make connections, build those relationships with the team, and really help them become one of the main characters in your vision, okay? So it is absolutely crucial that you offer ongoing coaching and mentoring so that you can really unblock and grow them. This is the most important relationship you have in your business. So it's crucial that you get this right for the growth of the development of course, yourself, your role, and that means the company. And making this shift is absolutely crucial for growth. And you cannot scale without having this in place. When you're the CEO, you should focus on the strategic priorities, on the major decisions, on relationships, and leading your leaders, which all of that translates to revenue generating activities. While your CEO is more focused on your operations, on the execution of that, on team management, on process optimization. So they are supposed to be your problem solver while you focus on the big picture. So when we have this achieved, now you have scalability, you have an effective lieutenant, you are in a place where you flip-flop the picture, where you work maybe 10% in your business and 90% on your business, meaning in the future it's going to be the 5. So if you've been around our ecosphere for a while, you want to focus on the 5% that only you can do, right? So that's the goal. And that's when you truly operate in your zone of brilliance. That's when you have stepped out of the hub into the highest and best use, when you can truly contribute to your business at your highest value. So don't delay making this transition, making this shift, but at the same time, make sure that you're absolutely ready to do that. Look, everything we teach gets you ready for that, and that's the most important part. So if you would like more information, make sure that you click at the link below, and it'll take you to a video that gives you more training in this, and then you can see how you can connect with us. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope this makes a huge difference for you, and have a great rest of your week.